Monday, Unblinded ecosystem, from the waves of LBI to the crashing waves of Coronado in San Diego, to the deserts of Arizona, to the beaches of Florida, and our Unblinded movement there and everywhere in between. Good morning to those internationally across the pond, like Peter in the UK. I hope everybody is starting their day, or Peter is probably midday already out there. So thank you, everybody, for being here. It's an honor. It's a privilege for all of it. And the desire, the outcome is to speak into your listening. And everybody's listening a little bit different. Some of you want money right now. It's the top outcome, like monetary driving. For some, it's scale and creating more time freedom. For others, it's magic. It's contribution, it's impact, it's reach, it's your voice being heard in the world. It's like, what do we do next? And so we're here to get you started every single day at the highest level, and that is the level set intention. Happy March. Like, we're ending final month of the first quarter of 2021. Like, how did that happen? Q1 almost done. The pandemic, and again, hearts, prayers to everybody being impacted still by all that's happened. But this is coming to an end, and we're going to come out the other side of this. And yes, I'm very present to all the predictions that the world doesn't go back to normal for many, many years, if ever. I hear that. But live events are going to be coming back, and they're going to be coming back this year. And we're going to be ready, and you're going to be ready. And the stage and the microphone and your influence mastery power to create that impact for you, that is present. And we're going to speak into our story. Like, who are you? Like, not your vision, not your mission, not your HUI. But when you're sitting there thinking about, who am I? And your certainty is there, but your fear is there. Like, what's the story you're telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself about your capability, your place in the world, where you are, where you're headed? Like, what's your story? And so with that, good morning, my co-founders, my brothers, Adam Gugino, Fernando Valencia. How are you, Adam? And happy Mastery Monday.
I am remarkable this morning on Mastery Monday, starting March. And some huge goals for this month and the rest of the year. I couldn't be more grateful starting today.
Yeah, and sometimes, Adam, what comes up is folks are like, maybe in their thought, I've heard this a little bit, hey, that's great if I'm blinded, but what does that have to do with me? And here's what I would say, and I'm curious what you would say. Number one, I would say that our acceleration, I think you spoke into this with somebody the other day about when we're going to a place like Buck Island or having a conversation with somebody who has immense influence, like, a David Meltzer or an AJ, the conversation just had, or a Mike Ruzioni, thank you, Rick Starr, or Tim Ballard. The relevance is that HUI is transferable. It's leverageable by the people in the ecosystem. It opens listening. It opens listening conversations you're going to be having with people that you're going to be doing business with. And you're a part of something that's dynamic. You're dynamic. And these things are happening. So it becomes part of your HUI. And practically, we have people here that are heading to a something on a giant stage by coming together with people here that, with respect and humility, wouldn't happen without the ecosystem capital and the people that we're drawing in. And I stand up very integriously on stage. I'm actually writing a mini book about it. Not an ebook. I'm not sure I love that phraseology, but a mini book as a guide to platinum partnership. And what I speak into from that stage is when I'm up there, I thank Tony Robbins for having created the most powerful and dynamic, accessible ecosystem of like-minded people, as powerful as any ecosystem in the world. And we are not an extension of that ecosystem, and we're not an independent ecosystem that is also becoming something that dynamic and powerful, which in and of itself, it's like people join golf clubs, and they join golf clubs for access and proximity to the people who are part of it. And right now, the investment for people in unblinded programming with humility, but factually, just have the access to the like-minded people in and of itself without any content, without anything else. I mean, hell, if people join a golf club for that to play golf and pay the kind of money they do, six figures often, to join, golf clubs that have a certain level of membership, we're that and beyond already, and rapidly accelerating. So when we're creating these things, like, that's what's present. And that's why we share it with you, so you can understand all the things that are here and where we're going. And second, it's also to teach and say, like, here's what's possible for you as you raise your ecosystem value. And here's how you do it. You have the formula, and it's the practical living out of the formula, so that we're not just teaching through words, we're teaching through the action. So Adam, I don't know your thoughts on those two things.
Yeah, no, on those two things, I'll lean right in. You said the HUI, the rising of the HUI, of the overall movement, bringing people in to teach and train, but it's also just the actualization of the relationship capital that's being brought into the ecosystem, that we're investing in time, energy, and money for others to be able to build and grow. It's funny that the point you brought up, I actually asked the question, like, because we always talk about source. We were talking about that last week, and how Unblinded is committed to acknowledging and recognizing source of all of the relationships that are established here with us as we move forward. And then I turned around, because they were asking that in regard to an individual. And I said, I wonder, like, what is Unblinded source to? And it was like, drop the mic. They said to me, it's incalculable what the relationships that we have no idea about, how many people are not, saying source or are or whatnot, in around and about this ecosystem. So it is the teaching, the training, the HUI, and even just that is happening, everywhere.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I say, and this is why I acknowledge Tony Robbins so much, because we honor source. But for many, many things in my life, the teachings, the learnings, none of this happens. But without his teaching, it doesn't happen, number one. Number two, without the immense relationship capital that I certainly invested a lot of time and money into, more than $1 million at this point, into Platinum Partnership and, the corollary things around it, and Lions. But it's been worth it and beyond. And you all are a recipient. Like think of it this way. Like, just, we could have endless examples. One that's just like the first one in my mind, for whatever reason, Michelle Etchebarren and Chris Young issued a press release about a week or two ago of their ecosystem merger and doing a thing. And that thing is the byproduct of, in part, like, source to it, is the $1 million I spent on Plat Lions. Like, but for that, Chris and Michelle don't meet. Now, they also don't meet if Michael Smykin doesn't create a 10 by 10. But the 10 by 10 exists because of Unblinded. And, like, how often do we think this way? That the very things that we're investing in and creating, and there's thousands of those examples. And what you are becoming source for is the same thing as you grow in your influence. So, like, Tony Robbins has created trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in value. YPO, they tracked gross revenues of YPO, and Alejandro Grimaldi shared this reality with me. He's very good friends with the current head of YPO. Just the gross profits, the gross revenue, not profits, of the membership, the 32,000 members of YPO, is $13 trillion. But that's not measuring all of what's created in and amongst the members, And so it's exciting, it's dynamic, it's powerful. And so in the sharing of all these things, it's designed to create vision, inspiration, intention, practical reality of all of it. So, hyper present to it all the way through. Adam, anything else on that point?
Yeah, just that's the critical nature around source and the integrous relationships of adding integrity-based human influence, looking to add more value than you are receiving. I mean, that's what this is all rooted in, and that's the meaning of exactly what you're describing.
Awesome. Love it. So from there, Fernando, any thoughts on all this?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Thank you, AG. Hello, Unblinded Movement. There's a few, and I'll keep them in sentences, and we'll see where we go from here. Number one is, as I'm analyzing, processing, just the day, so much has happened and so much has occurred already. Number one is integrity-based human influence always exposes the truth. Something that we haven't said maybe in the last 30 days, and it's very constant in our world, is how zone action equals freedom. And when we're sharing all this, I've always said there's like ways to listen. There's like the entertainment value, there's the lessons, there's like, how can I teach, what's being present here. And, bottom line-ish is we're creating the model. Well, Sean has already created it. We're replicating his model, just like he did at Callagy Law, the law offices of Sean Callagy, proximity, epic wealth, now Unblinded. Like, this is the model. Insert your profession here. This is how we get from, Sean always says it, from $500,000 to $1 million, $1 million to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. That's what's available here. So it's not a energy of like, hey, look at us. It's like, hey, just in case you were wondering, doubting, like, this works. And I know that we talk about it every day and we teach it. And, even I doubted Sean 2 weeks ago on like a Monday night call. It even shows up for me. And I have the utmost proximity to Sean, because of where I am. And even like in those moments, doubt appears. And then it's like, wait, look, the numbers don't lie. The numbers are here. It's actually happening. And we have the ability to practice step one of process mastery, which is to model. And that's what we're building and showing here.
Yeah. And here's the most fun thing, and exciting thing, and frustrating thing is how much leakage exists.
Oh my God.
So when we look at a record-breaking month at Unblinded, which was completed, there is the suboptimal amount of things in process, influence, and self-mastery that exist are mind-numbing. And with that leakage closed, we can 4x this where we are by the end of the year, and probably more. And now it simply comes down to a question, and that's because there's a formula. And then it now comes down to execution within the formula. And Fernando, I'll just ask you, like, do you think we can 4x the month of February in the month of November? I mean, December is the holidays, it gets a little bit, wonky each the hair. But do you think we could 4x this month if we close the leakage? Is it unreasonable to think we could by November?
The direct answer would be yes. It's yes, I believe, and it is not unreasonable.
Yeah. And now we may not, but if we don't, it's only because of suboptimal dynamics. We don't have to work harder to do it. We have to just close leaks, and we have to work in zone action intentionally.
Sure,
that's what's available for all of you. What's up, Rob?
Hey, brother, can I add something to this? I think that would be very helpful.
Go.
Yep. And thank you, Adam. Thank you, Fernando, as always, and Sean. Obviously, the actionable, fearless leadership is incredible and always present. What I would add to this is that this isn't for Unblinded. Unblinded. So anyone on this call right now, if you're not in the world of Unblinded as far as your primary business, everything that's being discussed by going shoulder to shoulder with Unblinded can massively accelerate your business. But if I could add a getting it into your nervous system, that not only do these calls set the tone, but this is about how you can grow your business by, as Fernando said, looking at the model and replicating the model that Sean has created over the years, over the last 15, 20, 23 years. And Fernando said something that 2 weeks ago, he even felt like a little, let's say limiting belief on a specific item. I felt the same thing. Sean gave me a task to do recently, and I felt like, wow, should I really say that to that person? You know what I mean? And it was a quick thought that a year ago I may have sat on it longer, but it became instant reactionary. And then I took a step back and I did what I was tasked to do. The point is, there is leakage everywhere. There is the ability to massively accelerate everywhere. And I think the biggest turn for me was when I realized that I am unblinded. Unblinded is me. They're not mutually exclusive, but it's not about a take. It's about a give. And I really offer that insight to everybody on this call, because I think if you're in the place of giving, with understanding no expectation, I know that's hard to hear, but understanding no expectation, what will begin to happen, this specific formula, this influence-based formula, process self-mastery formula, really, as you work it on a daily basis, begins to exponentially grow as you exit out of the arduous stage. And there'll still be leakage, and there'll still be ways to improve. But I think, if anything else, understand this is for you, on how you could build your business by going shoulder to shoulder. There was a previous language that was used, you're either with us against that. No, I don't believe that. It's, you're just better off with us. And I agree with that 100%. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're better with everybody. And so that said, couple quick items that are super important. And number one starts with, what's your story? What's your story? Not your vision, not your HUI, not your mission. What's your story? So Rob, what was your story about you 8 months ago? I have no idea what the answer is. But like the 2-second story of like where you belong in the world, like as it relates to good enough, not good enough, like who I am when you were by yourself sitting in your more normalized moment, not in a peak state, not in a down state, but just like the way you were in most of the day, right?
Yep.
What was your story about you?
Yep. My story all the time is one day at a time. I'm sober through the 12 Steps Alcoholics Anonymous. My job is to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety any way I can. Off of that, help people be financially educated on decision making. Build a team. This was just a regular build a team, and how we could improve, and do we have enough of what it takes to massively accept. Then the questions the one question I don't have is how to stay sober every day. Everything after that, I have questions about everything in life all the time. The question is, are they empowering questions or are they limiting belief questions? And 8 months ago to today, there's a lot more empowering questions than there is limiting belief questions. I would not 8 months ago think the way I think today, as far as the acceleration that's upon us. That's the best way I can answer that.
Okay, great. So 8 months ago, what was your story about your ability to create acceleration 8 months ago versus today?
Great. We could only create acceleration with maybe 4 or 5 different ecosystem mergers. We can't take it on 20 or 30 right now, which is not what I think today, by the way.
Yeah. And what do you think about today about your ability to confront heart-centeredly, empathetically cause leadership? Like, what was your story about your ability to cause leadership, hold accountability, your story about 8 months ago versus today?
I knew my story 8 months ago. If I was going to confront somebody, then my backyard had to be cleaned up first, right? So, and that's more of a control, fake confusion, right? That's fake confusion. Yeah. So, I think we started our new base camp 5:30 every morning, which I'm sorry we missed today. But once you, and I'm sure you kind of saw this, but once we started going back into one-on-one coaching, and it is 5:30 in the morning, it really increased my, number one, awareness, but number two, and I have a long way to go. As always, there's no graduation here. There's only, progression. It made me want to be more accountable to myself first. And it allowed me to, with truth, understanding confidence, that if I was going to confront somebody, and confront doesn't mean a fist fight or like a finger point. It means like using truth as the common denominator. It kind of put me into the right state of mind to do that, which is where I had been previously at different points in my life. Didn't have a formula to it, just organically. And now it's like things are slowing down and I could see things in angles that I never saw before, because there's no manipulation.
And Rob and everybody, I want you to drop this in the chat, the answer to this. What do Tom Brady, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, the United States of America all have in common?
Wow.
What do you think, Rob?
They have high
chat,
level.
throw your answer in the chat.
They have the highest level ecosystems. They confront truth wherever they. Well, I don't know about them. I can't speak for America, but when I look at Tom Brady as a leader, or when I look at Oprah giving everyone a stage and a microphone and feeling heard, and I see what Tom Brady was able to do exiting New England, self-process mastery genius, and then obviously his influential skills are off the charts, as is Tony's, as was Oprah's. And I guess if listen, if you're in another country, you want to come to America to live the dream. So that's the best way to answer that.
All true.
Yep.
All true. There's something else. Okay, so Fernando, all those things are true. Fernando, what's something Rob hasn't said that they all have in common? And Bruce Springsteen, Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, United States of America.
Kate Nova said it.
Tom Brady.
Kate Nova gave the answer in the chat. They were all underdogs.
Kate Nova dropping the mic. Kate Nova dropping the mic. They are all underdogs. Tom Brady was a 6th round draft pick. Fact check me on that. It might have been 5th, but I think 6th.
6th.
Which meant, for those who don't, what was that, Rob?
I think he was 6th.
Yeah, 6th round draft pick, which meant nobody thought he was ever going to be a starting NFL quarterback, let alone the greatest sports figure in history. 6th round draft pick. And if Drew Bledsoe doesn't get hurt, who was the quarterback of the New England Patriots and who was doing a very good job, then Tom Brady doesn't come forward for a long, long time. Massive underdog. Oprah Winfrey, abuse victim, physically, sexually, at horrifying, horrific, insane levels. African-American woman, by definition, based upon Harvard-proven existence of, and other, endless studies, gender and racial bias that still exist. And by the way, Harvard-proven also, it exists for, I didn't want to, no, I just speak truth. If you study the study cited by Malcolm Gladwell and Blink, citing Harvard studies, it exists for African-American people against African-American people as well. And if you haven't read that, read that section of Blink. It will blow your mind. So underdog of underdogs at every level, African-American woman, abuse victim, or I almost say victim, recipient of abuse, right? We don't want to create a frame that wouldn't be what Oprah would want her frame to be. So however she would phrase it, fine, but she was a person who experienced unbelievable abuse and trauma, right? Underdog at the highest level. United States of America, fighting against the greatest fighting force in the history of the world at that point, the British Empire, right? And if there were Vegas odds on the likelihood of the United States defeating the British Empire in the Revolutionary War, it would have been 100,000 to 1, maybe. Massive underdog. Muhammad Ali, who I didn't add into the list, massive underdog. People gave him, it was a 7 to 1 underdog, right? When he fought Sonny Liston. When he fought George Foreman, he became an underdog again after being world champion, because George Foreman had annihilated Joe Frazier, who had just beaten Muhammad Ali. So when Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman, people thought he was going to get killed. Bruce Springsteen, 10 years of playing in the Jersey Shore, 10 years of people saying he was a great live act, but didn't have the voice. 10 years. And after he finally made it, got signed by a record label, his first 2 albums, Greeting from Asbury Park and Wild the Innocent and Knee Street Shuffle, were both critically unbelievably well received and commercially flopped. with Born to Run, everything was on the line. And if it wasn't a commercial success, not just a critical success, his career was over. Underdog of underdogs.
Sean.
And right on down. Yeah.
Sean, I just wanted to know, can we bring up Beth Goodman, who shared her incredible story from the 8 a.m. call from just over this year? I know we only have a couple of minutes, but she, she's
Gina, is it a coincidence that just I started talking about Bruce Springsteen when you jumped in? I'm kidding. Yeah. But Gina, give me a quick time check.
Yep. Well, it's 8:58, so it's not really, we don't have a lot of time left.
You know what? Let's do this. Let's bring up Beth on this topic tomorrow, but I want to acknowledge the access. Two things real quick. We got to get to Clubhouse on time. So number one, March 13, 14 is locked in, the Unblinded virtual immersion. We will touch on rising your mastery in self-influence and process mastery and the 7 levers. It will be skill development extravaganza, the latest cutting edge of everything. We'll drop in on dynamics of Clubhouse, where we are, where we're headed, the partnership that Unblinded has now formed with the one and only Peter Swain and Yo-Yo, and all of what that just means, a practical example of ecosystem merging to ecosystem merging and beyond, and also how to leverage and utilize that. But March 13, 14, apologies again for movement. It will not move again. It will not be moving to the future. There's a variety of different reasons. And I will acknowledge this, that Unblinded is not a section where you can say, okay, this will begin at this time and end at this time. And it may never be. And I pay a ton of money and time and energy into the Tony Robbins world. And similarly, that world operates that way, right? I'm not trying to model that, but what is modeled is a desire to over-deliver and make sure we maximize. So the keeping of time is not our primary outcome, and it will never be. And all I would offer you in a potential access and thinking is we talk about being flexible, innovative, versus being cement or glass. So what is your dynamic around being cement, glass, rigid versus being flexible, innovative, dynamic, right? And what are those things? And trust me, running and leading Unblinded and stepping into and being a plat and a lion at the same time is one of the most complex and at times stressful things I've ever done. And it is worth it and beyond for all the things, for all the reasons. So do that with what you will. Like, what's your story around flexibility and time and optimization and innovation? And that's for you. We've begun speaking into a separate topic now. We've begun speaking to the topic of that Adam Gugino access with underdogs, with the Battered Bastards of Baseball Netflix show. We'll speak more into that as the week progresses. But Adam, thank you for the access, the genius of it, the genius of you. And we are all underdogs. We are all underdogs. And in this world, like we said, what's your story? And how does your story empower you, accelerate you, or not? And we could look at ourselves as anything we want, but I think there's an inherent desire. There's a leverage that's created, a something. This is a topic that will be consistently present for the week of how we view ourselves and our story. And viewing yourself as incapable is a defective story. Being present to the reality that if you want to create a successful business, 96% of businesses fail. Most people are unhappy. Tony Robbins says that he knows 20 billionaires and 2 are happy. So if you want to make money and be happy, you're an underdog. Billionaires are underdogs in their pursuit of happiness. You want to have a happy marriage? The divorce rates say that you're not even likely to have a marriage that lasts. You're an underdog if you want to have a happy relationship, because how many people do you know that have happy relationships? It's a fractional percentage. So by definition, having the money, time, and magic you want, you are an underdog. We are underdogs. And Unblinded is an underdog. Like, there's no rhyme or reason on the face of the earth that this could have been created during a pandemic with no live events or paid advertising. It's an impossibility. Adam Gugino is an underdog. He's a person that did the impossible and then didn't get what he should have gotten, right? He's an underdog. Fernando was running around the influencer world in space, and he was looking to find his way and cause impact and wasn't finding it in a way that resonated with his heart, soul, and his talent and ability. He's an underdog because most people never do. I'm a blind guy. By definition, I'm an underdog, and you are an underdog. You're an underdog if you're rich. You're an underdog if you're poor. You're an underdog in the pursuit of the things that you seek in the world, by definition. And that is what we have in common. We are all underdogs, regardless of our money, regardless of our time, regardless of our magic. AG, final.
Yeah, we're all rooting for the underdog, and that is been in my blood since the first the story I told of our A team and the B team overcoming, and ever since then, that is what drives me. So let's go.
All right. And when underdogs come together and stay together, and remember at all times love, empathy, accountability, and their underdogness, and realize that we don't get there just by hoping and visualizing. We certainly hope, and we absolutely visualize. And then we get into zone action. Have a beautiful Mastery Monday. See you on Clubhouse.